In this tutorial, I'm going to go over how to have a blueprint communicate with another blueprint and how to get a widget to communicate with a blueprint. Um, when I started using Unreal Engine, this was actually a concept that took me like a little while to grasp. It wasn't made very clear online how to do this, and I guess it was common knowledge for a lot of people. For me, it wasn't, so I figured I would make a video as like a bare bones basics on how to get blueprints to communicate with each other. I'm going to go over a little bit on how to get the widget to communicate and how to like create a button and stuff like that. So we're going to start from pretty much scratch. I did make a new blueprint actor class and copied it, and then I threw a cube in here and a sphere in here, and this widget is blank for right now. The goal is going to be to click on this actor and get this actor to change colors, and then to add a button in a widget that overlaps on the screen somewhere, so when you click on that button, it will also change the color of that actor or blueprint. Now, to start, you're going to need a game mode and a controller. I've made them. You can make them go into blueprint class, you can make a character, you can make a controller, and you can make a game mode. So I made a player and a game mode. And over here, under world settings, which you can find if you drop down window, you can go right down in here to world settings. Then this will pop up over on the right. Down in here, you can go to game mode override. Select the game mode that you made. It can be blank, and it's going to be when you first make it. Then go down to player controller class and select your player. Now, if this is a game that you're already in the middle of making, you don't need to make a new one. You can use the one you've already been working on, and it won't hurt anything. So go ahead and make your actors. Make a new user widget, which is going to be under user interface, widget blueprint, and you're going to select user widget right there. Oops, I guess I did. I'm going to go ahead and delete this though. Yes, force delete it. I know it's a bad idea. We're going to start actually in the controller. A lot of people who use Unreal will cast to their game mode or their controller or their pawn. In this instance, we're just going to go right for the controller. So while we're in this controller, we're actually going to click on the controller itself, and on the right, we're going to make sure that the mouse cursor is shown, click events and touch events are enabled. If you're using a first-person shooter style game, there's another way to do that. I'm not going to go over that right now. So with these enabled, we are going to, on our controller, we're going to create a variable. I already have, so we're going to click new variable, type in whatever. I named my new material actor 1. So I'm going to delete this. We're going to make this a material instance and an object reference, because it does ask for that. So material instance, and then on this little slide over tab, we're going to click object reference, and that's where we're already at with this one. With that, we're completely done with the controller. Now we're just going to cast to this. So in actor 1, when clicked, so I made a cube, you click on the cube, and down on the bottom here, on clicked is we hit the plus button, and this will come up. So on this clicked event, we are actually going to cast to our controller. So cast to, ours is called BP controller. And then we're also going to need to get player controller so that it knows, which instance of this, which there is only one, but which instance of this controller are we communicating to change and pull stuff from. And I had also never really understood why this had to be here, but it's so that way it knows if you're casting to an entire class, to change all of them at the same time, or if you are just casting to a specific one. So if you had an object next to another and then it's overlapping and you wanted something to happen when it's overlapped, you have to cast to that specific object. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to get that variable that we made. So I named mine the material actor1. We're actually going to set this because when we click on this object on the cube, we want to set this material. Now I'm going to put in a flip-flop so that we can see it happen over and over again. And all this does is, so the first time we hit it, it's going to do this. The second time we hit it, copy paste that. The second time we hit it, it's going to do that. So right here under our material instances, I have imported some. You might, if you haven't started with starter material, you might not have anything in here. You might have to actually go get some assets from the marketplace. There's a lot of free ones. We're going to have this go from yellow, back and forth from yellow to purple. So that way it's nice and visible. Everything's connected. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and compile. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, target needs to be controller. So everything's green. Got the good check mark. We're done with actor 1. Now what this is doing is this is calling whatever this is set to in the controller is, well, not whatever it's set to. This is going to set this controller, and then whatever is set is actually going to affect actor 2. So actor 2 is going to also cast to the player controller, so BP controller, and we're going to get the same player controller. Get player controller, and we are going to cast that. We are going to, instead of set that material, we are going to get it, because this is this should have already been set by actor 1. So with this sphere, pull this down here, we are going to set this material. So set material. Every tick, this will update the material, and it will update it to whatever it is set in the controller, which is controlled by actor 1 when it's clicked on. So this looks good to me. We're going to go ahead and file this. We're going to hit save. We're going to go back to our scene. We're going to save it again. And we're going to hit play. So now when we click on this, it is communicating to the other actor without having any components touching it whatsoever, going back and forth between our purple and yellow. Let's move on to the widget, which widgets are just UI menus. Let's go ahead in our designer. I create a canvas panel just for this instance, and I'm going to put a button in there. This button is on the top right now. Let's anchor it to the middle. Position, I don't want it to be any different than where the anchor is. The size, though, we can make this like 200 by 200. So there it is, nice and big. Compile this quick, go over to graph. We are going to click on our button, and then on clicked, we can delete these guys here. We're not going to be using them, get them out of the way. On clicked, we are going to do the exact same thing. So we are going to cast to BP controller, and then we are going to get player controller right here, cast that, that's the one we're talking about, and we are going to get the material. So, or we're going to set it, we are not going to get it. So we are going to set this, and let's do another flip-flop. So first instance is here, second instance is here, and this time we're not going to forget to assign the target. We're going to go, we are going to go down to set this. Let's go ahead and select our asset. I think we were yellow and purple or something like that. So let's go ahead and do brown, and what is this? Some decal? That might be bad news, but we're going to try it. Now we're going to save. Now, you'll notice if you hit play, there's no widget. So we're also going to go over a little bit on how to set that widget to the viewport, and it's very, very easy. I do this usually right in my pawn or my player, but since we're not going over that today, I'm going to do it right here in the controller. Doesn't really matter where you do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create widget, and the widget on begin play, the widget that we're going to create is the one that we just made, right? So this interface 1, that's the widget that we want to create. But creating it isn't going to do anything besides make it exist suddenly. So we are going to actually add to Viewport this widget that's returned the value of itself. So now this widget should get assigned right to the viewport in the game. So we're going to hit play, and look at that, our widget shows up. We have our button here. It goes from brown to nothing. So let's see what happened. Let's go to user interface, make sure that this is actually something visible. So it does work. The decal that I was trying to use didn't. So we go from brown to blue, from brown to blue, and this will change from yellow to purple to yellow to purple, and back from brown to blue, brown to blue. I hope this helped. If anybody has any questions about how widgets work or how other means to casting from one blueprint to the other, or how to do it without having to cast through a controller or a pawn or a player or a game mode, please ask. If you have any advice for me, I'm still pretty new with Unreal, but I figured while I'm learning, I can also try to educate. But please like and subscribe if you learned anything from this tutorial, or if you have any advice. Thank you.